Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is the March 2021 Mac Voices update. This month we have a number of things to go over and a little bit of feedback we'd like to get from you, some opinions on the future direction of a couple things, and you'll hear about that in a minute. But let's just dive in. First off, as you all know, I've been trying to figure out ways to add a little bit of extra value for our Patreon supporters, because you folks have been the ones who really stick with us every month and help pay the Mac Voices bills and are sort of the bedrock of our support. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. About the only thing up to this point that I've been able to do consistently is deliver the support report here on the updates, and we'll do that a little bit later. But for now, I want to announce, and if you have subscribed to the Mac Voices Dispatch, you already know about this. And if you're a Patreon supporter, you already know about it. But we started creating something called Mac Voices After Dark. These are recordings that happen before and after the Mac Voices live shows on Tuesday nights. It's a little peek behind the curtain. The topics discussed are seldom on topic. In fact, they're usually off topic. The recordings are completely uncensored, so whatever the folks say is what you get to hear. And a lot of times it's just like getting friends together, around the table and having a drink and enjoying the conversation. So occasionally it will continue with conversations about what we talked about on the show, but not always. So it's a little bit informal. It's a lot of fun, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do, because the panel have agreed to let me continue to record things not only before and after we actually do the show, but sometimes even after the live stream goes off. We don't want to exclude anybody. That's kind of the whole point here. We don't want to put much, if anything, behind a paywall. I've always been against that. So this is not behind a paywall. It's just an extra benefit that is not necessarily on topic again. And if you are watching the live shows, then you're getting to see at least part of that if you're watching the live stream both before and after the show, but not everything. So the only way to get Mac Voices After Dark is to become a Patreon subscriber at any level. When you do, once a week, you'll get a note that once I have posted the Mac Voices After Dark feed, and you'll get a private URL where you can go and watch and listen to it. So Mac Voices After Dark is something new this month, and I hope that you enjoy it. I would love to hear from you. I've been watching the numbers about how many people have been watching it, and they've been pretty darn good. So, and of course, they are limited to the numbers we have on Patreon. So it's kind of a controlled group that I get to see. So yeah, please, Chuck at MacVoices.com. If you like the idea, if you don't like the idea, if you have any further thoughts, I'd love to have your thinking on it. Second thing is, this is not nearly as big a deal, but I've relaunched the Mac Voices blog. Not exactly relaunched. It never really went away. It's just that I hadn't gotten to it for a long time. So I've started posting a number of things there. My appearances on other shows, the British Tech Network Mac Show, In Touch with iOS, and anything else that comes up. Also, though, I've started a new series, or actually kind of a couple new series, the gear that I use and services that I use. And I started out small with both of those, but I want to just graduate through, some of the things that maybe we don't get to talk about on the show, because they're little one-trick ponies that solve a problem of mine, and maybe they'll solve one of yours. But they usually are essential to what I feel like I'm doing, and I'm think that you may be interested and may not. They're short little articles. They just basically explain what they are and why they're important to me. So again, if you like it, great. If not, don't worry about it. You will don't have to necessarily, though, visit the Mac Voices blog. You will see the postings also noted in the lower right-hand corner of the or right-hand sidebar of the main Mac Voices site, and they are updated automatically as those articles get posted. So check them out. I hope you will find them useful and maybe even enjoyable. Another thing I did, and I had some feedback on this a couple times, this seems to be something that varies back and forth, and that is playlists on YouTube and Vimeo. So I decided I'm going to try this again for a little while, see if it gets a lot of play, if you all like it, if you give me some feedback on that. The first playlist is in March. Interestingly, though, as I record this just today, Vimeo seems to have changed its uploading procedure, and I'm still trying to find out where you go back and add videos to the playlist. So YouTube, it's definitely there. Vimeo, it should be there, and if you find things missing, it's because I'm still sort of working that out and learning their new back-end interface. You know how it is. Things have to change. Nothing can stay the same. Again, on the subject of sharing and increasing value for Mac Voices. For Mac Voices, on the Mac Voices group on Facebook, I've been for a long time now. I've been publishing an article a day, an article of the day, a single article that I think is really interesting and maybe beneficial for you. And it's gotten pretty good traction. But I'm also getting more and more feedback that people either are not on Facebook or are leaving Facebook. So starting this month, I am trying to post the articles both on the Facebook group, but also out to my Twitter feed and to the Mac Voices Twitter account as well. So if you are interested in that, please subscribe to one or the other. They right now, as far as I know, they will stay on Facebook, and you'll see why I say that in a minute. But yeah, for right now, they will still be on Facebook, but now they will start being on my personal feed as @ChuckJoyner and the @MacVoices identity on Twitter. So please check those out. And if you have articles that you'd like to submit for consideration, please drop them in. They are drawn from Mac Voices magazine, which is where I aggregate anything that I think is interesting. That's the magazine I publish on Flipboard, and I encourage you to check that out too if you haven't, because that's another place where you can go to get good, high-quality information drawn from a lot of different sources. The last thing, and I really, really need your feedback on this one. As you know, we've been doing Mac Voices Live, streaming to Facebook, then we started streaming it to YouTube. Honestly, the response has not been as great as I would have hoped for on Facebook. It's been better than I expected on YouTube. I'm not quite sure if this says something about how many of our listeners use Facebook or how they feel about Facebook, or the fact that just you can go and listen kind of anonymously on YouTube if you wish. So I really would like to know what you think, because in order to stream to both platforms, there is a cost involved. And like any good business person, I'm trying to watch costs and figure out if I'm getting the most bang for the buck. And so if Mac Voices Live is not going away, let's be very clear about that. But it may go away from Facebook, and in its place, just when the show goes live, I would post a YouTube link over on the Facebook pages and let you come over to YouTube. So I'm going to ask you to let us know. Is it important for Mac Voices Live to remain on Facebook as a live feed? Or do you think that pushing it over just to YouTube and having it only streamed there would be adequate? Would it leave anybody out? Would you feel like you're left out? And of course, the edited versions of those shows would still be posted to Facebook. So in essence, you would only be missing the actual live the live show. You still would have the opportunity to interact just like you do on Facebook over on YouTube in the chat room over there. So there's just a bit of parity. It's only a question of the distribution of the live show and where it is actually being streamed out to live. So again, let me know. Chuck at Mac Voices. So that's a lot compared to some of the past months' Mac Voices updates. But and there are a couple more things I hope to have coming in the next month or so. But again, I would like all your feedback on them. There's a lot of effort going into Mac Voices to try to make it one of the best resources out there for you. And I want to make sure that it is delivering on that promise and giving you what you both want and what you need and what you enjoy. So that's it for that part of this. Next, we're going to do the support report, as we always do. And again, I want to thank up front all the folks whose names I'm about to read, because they've all been here for a little while. They all have been absolute super supporters of Mac Voices, and I greatly appreciate it. So again, at Platinum this month, we didn't have anyone. But at Gold, we had David G., Frank P., and Webb B. At Silver, we had Bobby, Chuck A., Michael D., Bruce E., Tim G., Chuck P., Hal P., George R., Daniel S., and Newt S. And at bronze, we had Max C., Tom C., Greg H., Clinton M., John M., and Prop P. So again, I want to thank everyone on that list. Your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I also should note that I didn't skip over the PayPal supporters. We did not have any PayPal supporters this month. For those of you who would like to see your names on this list, and at the end of each episode of Mac Voices for the month, the way you do it is go to patreon.com/MacVoices and contribute at any level. What happens then is, for those of you who have heard this before, I'm sorry to have to repeat it, but Patreon collects your contributions at the beginning of each month. So as a result, if you, let's say, join the Patreon in mid-March, you won't see anything happen until April, because that's when your first support donation would be collected. So that's why sometimes it might seem like the lists and the credits are a month behind. They're really not. It's just that we want to make sure the Patreon contribution goes through so that credit is given where credit is due. And of course, Patreon is not the only way to support Mac Voices. We have the PayPal option, as I mentioned, and there is always the buy things through our Amazon links. That doesn't cost you anything, but definitely gives us a little bit of kickback to help run the show. And best of all, share the show with a friend or write a review on iTunes, because the more we can grow Mac Voices, the better we all like it. So thank you again for all your support, no matter how you give it. That wraps up this update for March 2021. I will be back next month, and of course I'll be back with another Mac Voices tomorrow, and we'll just keep on rolling. Until then, I'm Chuck Joyner. As always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.